Thunderbolt starts us off with Yelena flexing on these hoes by completing a mission destroying an Ox laboratory in Malaysia for CIA Director Valentina, who is currently under investigation for an Ox superhuman project known as Sentry, with Bucky, a newly anointed congressman, helping aid in Valentina's downfall. Wow, that was a mouthful. Also, what is Ox and when did they enter the MCU? I don't remember ever that getting established. But anyways, as Valentina faces impeachment for her work with Ox Group, she sends Yelena to track Ghost to a covert Ox facility. Wow, I'm saying Ox a lot. Once there, Yelena, Ghost, and John Walker are pitted against one another in a deadly confrontation before a mysterious man named Bob unexpectedly appears.
I'm Bob.
Upon learning that they were sent by Valentina to be barbecued along with any evidence of her misdeeds, they manage to escape. Valentina learns that the group has survived, including Bob, who was presumed dead during the Sentry trials. Seeing Bob as her way out of impeachment, Valentina decides to anoint the unstable Bob as Sentry, a replacement for the Avengers all rolled into one human being. But as Valentina gears up to premiere Sentry to the public, Bob's unstable powers threaten to swallow the world in darkness. Can Yelena, Bucky, Ghost, John Walker, and the Red Guardian come together as the Thunderbolts to stop Sentry from his dark path, or will the Marvel reject team succumb to their flaws, leaving the world in darkness? Thunderbolts to me is a refreshing resetting of the Marvel table. It helped to remind me of the things that I loved about Marvel when they were in their prime, and I think there are 3 lessons you can take from the Thunderbolts. Birds of a feather flock together. The Thunderbolts is an ensemble team movie very similar to like the Avengers, and I will say that Marvel has had a lot of films like this, but they have not always been successful with these. It makes me think of the Eternals, which I feel failed at this. When you are making a movie with a bunch of different characters, especially if you're establishing a bunch of different characters, you need to be very efficient in how you are writing your plot. Take how many characters you need to introduce and divide your running time up by that, and that's being generous about the amount of time you may have to set up each character. So here are some rules to follow if you are writing an ensemble thing. 1, at the bare minimum, you should almost always have 2 characters with each other. If you can have more, please have more, because then you can combine their screen times and get more out of each character. Plus, it's just fun seeing the interactions of characters bouncing off each other. But 2, if you are going to give certain characters solo time, make sure that it is worth having that solo time, because remember, you do not have a lot of time to establish, so you need to be efficient. And with that, we are now going to move to the next lesson. Return to your roots. You know, superhero movies are some of the most epic stories we ever had, with us going into the cosmos and meeting gods and people with all these amazing power sets. But unfortunately, something that can set in with series like this is what I call scope or spectacle creep, where once you kind of establish like world-ending stakes, a lot of these series feel this need to always return to stakes that high, because it can feel like, will audiences really tolerate stuff that is lower than that? But I actually think there might be a flip problem with that, which is as you keep trying to make the scale higher and higher in terms of the threat level, it actually can become more and more unrelatable to an audience. You know, most audience members are not dealing with cosmos ending tragedies. And so sometimes it helps that after having a particularly epic moment to kind of go small again and get to characters who are more grounded, and that can help a lot, right? With the Thunderbolts, these are not the epic god characters that we saw in a lot of other Marvel installments. These are much more grounded characters where they are much more relatable in terms of when they're in danger and their wants and needs. And this can really help after having such epic moments to get back to something a lot more grounded. But that won't mean anything unless you use this next lesson. Character over spectacle. I think one of the things that Marvel has really taken on that has damaged them a lot is this overinvestment into spectacle, right? These big CGI battles, these team ups, and these, you know, member berry cameos. And unfortunately, I think that this spectacle is ultimately kind of pointless because it is not rooted in characters, right? Characters is a lot of ways that the audience hooks into a movie and like hooks into a plot. So you can have the most epic thing happen ever, but if we don't have any emotional attachment to it, it won't work. Now, I can see some people saying like, hey, these are superhero movies, why would you want less spectacle? But I would make an argument with them on that when it comes to Marvel, because one of the scenes that people talk about a lot is from Age of Ultron, the party scene, right? Where we're just hanging out with these superhero characters. I'm not doing any crazy epic battles, but it is one of the most most beloved scenes within the Marvel universe because we were just getting to know them as people. And ultimately, I think something that people actually want that makes them really invest is when we get into the like heads and hearts of these super powerful gods and get to see the human underneath, that part that we can relate to, that even if this character has godly power, seeing what they want and their hopes and desires and seeing that being entangled with spectacle helps to imbue the spectacle with meaning and get people to invest and not check out like people have been doing the last 5 years with Marvel. So I enjoyed the Thunderbolts. Let me know if you've seen it, if it's gonna win you back to Marvel. I'm not totally won back with Marvel, but this was a step in the right direction. And remember, all my lessons, I'm always right and you are wrong. Bye.